call yours yet?
Oh, what? What's up? It's me, Gazbot. This is Action Activate, and with me, as always,
It's me, the big dog, the big driver, as it were.
he's driving, so I'm gonna point it at my face a little bit. I don't live near him anymore, but I'm here now in this part. Why?
We just got done with UltraFest, which was a 3-day Ultraman event where you got to see Ultra art and see Ultra episodes and Ultra movies and all that jazz that is Ultra.
And Dory Krause, Ultraman Great Towards the Future, was there, and yeah, it was a fun time. I flew up for it, and I did all 3 days. The big dog just joined me today.
Just today.
Yeah, what did you? Well, you said you let me lead off, but I want to see what you thought about today.
So today was definitely slow.
Yes.
But we made the most of the slowness.
Yes.
So there were 3 movies that played today. I caught, or was it 3 or 4?
3 movies with like some episodes and
3
stuff
movies.
mixed
So
in.
I watched 2 of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a Ultraman X movie. It was pretty cool. It was a good starter. Like the way they pace everything seemed good, not knowing how the last movie is. And then because it was slow,
Wasn't there an episode 2?
there was an episode of
Taro?
Yep. And they had like clips and stuff and trailers, and there was a lot of supplemental things other than just the movies.
Right, like commercials with Ultraman in them.
But the movies kept the timing of the day going. Yes. Because it would be like at 11, there's this movie. At 2, there's this movie. At 5,
Right.
there's this movie. And everything else was kind of supplemental, and there was more flexibility there for Q&A and hanging out and all that jazz.
Raffles.
Yeah. But because it was slower in the middle of the day, Gazbot and I both got to enjoy it's a really long name. It's like
Mega Monster Battle.
Ultimate Galaxy Fight Monster Battle Extreme Ultraman Special, the movie, Part 1, something like that.
Esquire.
It was really good,
It
though.
was very good. Neither of us had seen it. And neither of us said, this is the movie we want to see.
Yeah.
It was just, this is the movie that's playing at the time when we're going to see it.
Yeah.
And they had an episode, well, and again, they had the clips, and they had an episode of Leo before it. And yeah, it was great. I didn't realize that it would be, because it was billed, Bob Johnson, who runs the event, was billing it as like, this is the one where Gamora, one of the evil kaiju, is like the hero.
Yeah.
That's kind of true.
Yeah.
But
it's not false.
It's not false, and that is a part of it. But to me, this was the story of the origin of Ultraman, Belial, and that to me is what the story.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would.
And the journey of Mebius.
And the journey of yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a ton of good stuff.
It's all the main villain is Belial, and it's like here's where he came from, here's what he's doing, we gotta beat him. And along the way, other characters get involved, new characters are introduced, classic characters come back. There's like an all-out brawl between a bunch of Ultras on the planet of light, and then there's a bunch of humans fighting somebody.
Really, the way I would describe it, because Gazbot is much more involved in Ultraman than I am. I am a very semi-casual Ultraman fan. I've watched
Semi-casual.
I've watched some. I have more Ultraman toys than I've watched Ultraman. So like I know a lot of things from the toys. Like I have a Belial figure. I'm like, I recognize that guy. But going into this, there was a lot of stuff I'm like, I understand that is fan service, and that's really cool, even though it's not fan service to me.
And this comes back to Power Rangers.
Yes.
And this is something I've said before, and you were bringing up again.
Yes.
That their tokusatsu, Japanese stuff in general, does this well. Kamen Rider, Sentai, whatever.
Yep.
Where they bring characters back all the time, and sometimes it's a big special event, but it doesn't have to be. And like you were saying, well, from your point of view, what happened in this movie?
There were, so mild spoilers, not really that big of a deal. Once you watch the movie, you'll get it. But at one point, the original Ultraman and Ultra 7 were in the movie.
Right.
And we see them in their human forms. And I don't know what their human forms look like. So I'm like, who are these cool old guys that are like really, messing up the bad guys? And then they show a little flash saying, oh, here's the Ultraman helmet next to him. That's Ultraman. Oh, here's the Ultra 7 helmet. This is Ultra 7. I'm like, that's really cool because it's the same people who played the role.
Right.
And you didn't need a bunch of backstory. You didn't need to fudge it in. It just made sense, and you rolled with it, and you didn't spend too much time talking your way into it. It was just awesome.
And further, the other characters, the newer, younger characters, were like, oh, Ultra 7, I can't believe, like, and acted like.
And they had new Ultramen in it that I didn't know. Like, they showed a guy, they did a classic, like, intro, they showed his name and stuff. I'm like, I don't know.
He had his name on his jacket.
Yeah.
It was clear, and I didn't know this character either. So it was clear that he was somebody cool.
Yes.
And it was even cool, and this is good for me too, because I also didn't know. And it was like, his name, I already forget his name. It was well, no, but he says, I'm like, Asuma, whatever. And they're like, who? And he's like, well, on Earth, they called the Ultraman Dyna.
They're
like, oh!
Yeah.
So it was, it's perfect. And this comes back to, like, there's always this idea of, like, in Power Rangers or whatever. But like, well, kids aren't going to know who those, right, they won't.
Doesn't matter.
They know there are other Rangers.
Yep.
Some middle-aged guy shows up or some older woman shows up and then kicks somebody's butt and goes, oh, by the way, I was Lightspeed Yellow or whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to get it. It's fine.
So, that works.
Yeah.
This, to me, was a close equivalent, and there's probably a better example of this, but it was like the Super Mega Battle Ultraman.
Yeah.
It was really that, and it was so great.
Yes, that, and because and in that one, not that anybody's saying that was done really well, but they did have the Rangers show up and go like, but the difference is, like, and this seems to be a running theme with most Power Ranger callbacks.
Yeah.
They're not usually utilized well.
No.
Like, they had returning actors in this that had significant roles, and they interacted with different generations, and it was like, you felt like they were in it as more than just showing up as a cameo. And like Super Mega Battle, it was like a bunch of cameos. It's like, well, that's cool, but I want to see Carter talk to Tommy or Billy. You know, you want to see the different interactions, you want to see him do something, and actually, like, be involved in the story, as opposed to, here's something we shoehorned and sprinkled on here because we had the person available. And that, and this definitely feels like every character, whether they were new, old, in the middle, they were all there for a reason, and they all got to talk and have lines and do action and interact with different characters. And
it wasn't crazy long. It was probably less than an hour and a half, right? Or roughly an hour and a half. I think it was probably an hour. It was like regular movie length.
Yeah,
like, it was a shorter movie, but still, it had a beginning, middle, and end. It was great. For people who were vaguely familiar with Ultraman, it got you up to speed. Like, everything about it was solid. I will happily watch it again. It was great. It was really, really cool. I want more Ultraman figures because of it, which probably was the reason they made the movie, other than just being good. Like, everything, A+.
I wasn't planning on getting a Belial. Now I'm much more likely to get a Belial.
Yeah. And Belial isn't, like, one of the only evil Ultramen.
Right.
And they did a great job of, like, I kept thinking, I'm like, if they made, like, a Drakon movie like this would be, like, the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, because that's essentially what it is. It's
it's kind of like Drakon.
So that was, like, our experience today. Well, I'm skipping a little bit. It had a very chilled out vibe.
Yes.
Both for the vendors, the artists, the people coming in. It was like, it was very much.
A lot of good socializing.
It was very clubby. And I don't mean that, like, going out to the club, but, like, back in the day when, like, anime was like, oh, that's the anime club. And it's just the local people. Like, it had that. And Friday and Saturday were busier, but it wasn't crazy busy any day. Today was the least busy because it's Sunday and there was the marathon and Comic-Con.
Oh yeah, there was a marathon in SF that we found out as we drove by, because thankfully we went in the opposite direction of it and it didn't impact us.
Yeah, there was a lot going against it, but so it was moderately attended, I would say. But I think for the time, that's good. I enjoyed doing it as an artist. I sold enough art that I covered my costs and stuff, and you know, it was not like I lost money, but I didn't make a ton of money. But it's a very communal thing. People giving each other stuff, helping each other out. We take lunch breaks and get
people
coffee.
Would cover people's tables so you could watch the movie, stuff like that.
Right, and I think everybody that came in, you know, obviously I wasn't an attendee, but it had a similar vibe there, where people that didn't know each other. So let's say people that didn't know each other were taking selfies together, and I thought there was a guy taking a picture of a guy and his daughters, and then he was getting in it. I'm like, oh well, let me take that. You're all friends or whatever. And they're like, okay, nice meeting you. So like they're taking pictures together. People that
they're like, good meeting you. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. We're like, oh
yes,
oh, cool.
And I saw a few things like that where people were joking around, and I'm like, oh, you know each other? Like, no, we just met. You know, so it's definitely had a very like communal vibe.
If you've ever been to a big convention and talked to the people in line with you, it was kind of that vibe the whole day.
Yes, that's very accurate.
Where you're like, I like this thing. You clearly like this thing. What's up?
Yeah, it had a very cool vibe. The decorations were amazing.
Yeah, really good posters.
I'm going to put in B-roll as we talk over this, because this is not the most interesting shot. But a lot of that came from Bob's collection. There was like statues and posters and art. Those the Ron Lim
standees.
Standees,
that Ron Lim art. Oh, so cool.
Ron Lim, the Marvel artist, most known for Silver Surfer, probably.
Yeah, the cosmic stuff.
Yeah, one of the people involved in this is a guy named Keith, who does a lot of stuff. Back in the 90s, he was a comic inker specifically with Ron Lim a lot, and they were buddies. And they were trying to get an Ultraman comic done back then, so they did a spec piece together, and it ended up in Bob's hands, so it went on the wall. But that was, yeah, it was never used for anything other than like, hey, here is professional quality Marvel art Ultraman versus Bolton Sagian.
Yeah.
Let's get a project going. No? Okay, Bob, now you have this one of a kind.
And then 20 years later, it happened.
Yeah, but not with Ron Lim.
He might have done a cover though, I think.
Did he?
He
That would
might
be
have.
cool.
I don't know. I'd have to look because they had a lot of variants, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I would be shocked that I didn't see.
I know Art Adams did a really good
Art
one.
Adams did more than one.
Yeah.
He did at least two, but probably more than
There
one.
were two different series. There was The Trial of Ultraman and The Mystery of Ultra 7, I think.
There's three. There was
two
two
Ultraman and one Ultra 7.
I think that sounds correct. And I know Art Adams.
Rise of Ultraman, that was the other one.
I know Art Adams did a Rise, and I think a Trial where he was like smashed into a building.
Yeah.
And Alex Ross did one. Yeah, there's a lot.
There's some solid ones.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else you want to say about that?
I was gonna say it was cool. One of the other artists there, who I just met,
Nick.
was saying Nick. Shout out to Nick. He was saying he had watched some of our other Toku reviews of like Shin Ultraman and stuff. So Nick, if you're watching this, you're a cool guy and like your art.
Yeah. That was it.
What were you gonna say?
I don't know. I was saying, is there anything else to say?
Not that I can think of. We'll have Ranger stuff at some point. I'm sure we'll address the elephant in the room that is the lack of Ranger stuff at Comic-Con. And until next time, I've been the Big Dog.
Gazbot.
And to the power.
I'm not going to do end credits, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.